All right, so I'm always talking about faith, my journey, and giving you testimonies about what I've learned and things of that sort. So I wanted to let you guys in on this one a little early. Usually we want to get to the testimony before we tell the story, but I'm going to tell this one from smack dab in the middle, just because I want you guys to experience it all with me. Now, because the Lord is super faithful, I've seen a little bit of testimonies brewing in already, so I'll share that with you too. Hey, TaNia Thomas here, Jesus lover, dedicated wife and mom, serial entrepreneur, and extraordinary real estate broker. So I've been working on my business, like really creating different systems and just making sure it's streamlined for the last year and a half. And it's been a journey, just to say the least. So while doing that, we decided to switch over to eXp Realty. We opened up in Arizona. I hired 2 new agents, lost the agent, lost the admin, hired a new admin, had to replace her, and switched over to a new CRM. Yeah, it got crazy on top of all the other stuff I had going on, in my personal life. So I was super burnt out, but still trying to be everywhere I needed to be, sticking with all my routines, all my time blocks. I was creating systems, training everybody, because I was the only one who knew all the systems that I was creating, right? And then I was still going after more business. It was something different, all right? So I had a conversation with one of my best friends one day. We were out, and she was like, "Sister, I see the ground all over you, and I'll be glad when you get a break." She was so sweet and sincere, like really caring. She like, "Is there anything I can do to help? Anything." But it really threw a red flag up for me when she said it. And I didn't talk to her about it at all, but I sat on it for a minute. And I thought, like when I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, people shouldn't see grind on me. If it was what God wanted me to do, they would see grace, not grind, right? The Bible says that the blessing of the Lord makes you rich without painful toil. So if I'm toiling, the blessing isn't there. We're supposed to work, but it's not supposed to be an extremely hard work, right? So that thought right there was enough for me to make a decision to take a week off with no meetings with anyone except my team members. And I even scheduled a massage, and I decided I wouldn't put anything on my goal list for my accountability partner for the whole week. I called it a no pressure week. It was cool. I spent more time with God, and I just really recalibrated everything. And it was really good. It was really what I needed. So the Monday morning I started back to work. I get in my devotion time, and I'm like in the spirit thinking I'm talking to the Lord about YouTube because I had a shoot coming up and I needed to prepare and see what he wanted me to talk about. But I was totally wrong. So after I pray, I usually get quiet and listen. So the Lord started talking to me about Trinity, and he told me, y'all ready for this? He told me to give all my listings to my agents and start training them on it hands-on, right? Now look, I had 5 listings already signed and ready to put on the market. As soon as the sellers, they had little stuff they needed to do to the house, but they were signed. They was ready to go with me, right? And then I had 7 more that I was working on converting for August. I had the highest production goal for the year, out of everybody on my team, and I was determined to hit it. So that's why I was like, working, making sure I'm doing everything right. All right, well, let's rewind just a little bit. Like a couple weeks prior, I was on a run with my workout partner, and she was just talking to me about her job and things, and she's a supervisor at a manufacturing company. So she was talking about her responsibilities and the responsibilities of the people she managed. And for some reason, during our walk, it just dropped in my spirit that like I've been working 2 full-time jobs, like really 3. I run the business, I manage it, and I work in it. So I had talked to the Lord, and I'm like, I'm super excited, Lord, to get everybody trained up and get my money where it needs to be. I definitely want to have my biggest production year, and before I step back and, start coaching and working on the business and not in the business, right? So I had a goal to get out of the business anyway, like the sales business part of it, and just run it by the end of 2022, because that's what I'm best at. Like business is my thing. Sales, not really. I just have been graced for this time. All right, so back to the conversation with the Lord that I was having. So we're talking, I'm like, Lord, for real? Like, are you serious? And he led me to open my Kenneth Copeland Victory magazine. Now, I get this magazine subscription every month, but I hadn't read it in all year, really. I read it one time, actually, because my pastor and evangelist was in it, but I hadn't really read it all year. So I read it, and it's talking about, the title of it was Doing Business with God. And I'm like, all right, so Lord, what you want to say to me? You trying to confirm something? What's going on? When I'm reading it, it's talking about how when we're doing business with God, it's about sowing, not keeping everything to yourself. And the Lord just instantly dropped in my spirit that those listings was a seed and it would bring in a great harvest. It was really familiar, it was a little familiar because I had a situation with the Lord about 3 or 4 years ago. And I talked about it on another video where he told me to give all of my buyers to, one of my buyer's agents. And honestly, when I did that, when I made the decision to do it, I kind of did that decision in fear. So I decided, like, as soon as he told me, I'm like, you know what? This is my seed. I'm going to sow these listings to my agents in faith. And I'm just going to expect the harvest from it because that's what he said, right? And he just went on to talk to me and tell me, that I'm supposed to be a distribution center. That's what we are supposed to be because my faith can bring in leads, but I'm supposed to be a distribution center, and the seeds that I sow will bring in a greater harvest for me. So he just broke all that down, and I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm sowing this in faith, and I'm expecting, right? I'm expecting. So I have some ministers that I follow along with my pastor, and they have said, like my man of God, my pastor said, this is the year of harvest, right? And Kenneth Copeland said, this is the year of direction, protection, correction, and perfection in our finances, in our spirit, our soul, and our body, and the church and the government, right? And so I've been confessing those things. Also, Jerry Savelle said this is the year of the open hand of God. And he said this is the year of divine acceleration and unstoppable momentum. So like literally I grabbed onto all this stuff. So when once I sowed that seed, I'm like, all right, Lord, so you must be about to make some exponential growth happen here. So that's where I'm at. So this is me, in the prayer closet that Monday, I'm I'm in the spirit, I'm feeling it. I'm like, all right, Lord, I got it. I'll go throughout my day. Like I feel so much power. The presence of God is there, during my prayer time. But when I go throughout the day, sometimes I start wavering. And, I know that's everybody does. You have those thoughts that come like, maybe the Lord didn't want me to do this. So I talked to him about it though. Like that's something that I started doing. Like, Lord, are you sure? Like, I talked to him I'm honest with him about what I have going on inside of me. And he always helps me now because I'm honest about it, right? I had a meeting this Wednesday. I had talked to him, and then Wednesday I had a meeting with someone who wanted to, they wanted to learn how to build a team. So I was talking them through that. And then as I was sending them the documents that I had created, some of the systems I had built, to help them along, it just dropped in my spirit that I'm supposed to train team leaders. I'm supposed to coach team leaders and show them how to build a business. Since I spent so much time, building systems out, it just dropped in my spirit. I'm like, okay, Lord, so that was kind of confirmation that I needed to, because when he told me that this was what I was going to do, he said he needed me to let go in order to do what he really, want me to do. Then 10 minutes later, you're not going to believe this, 10 minutes later, a friend of mine called me and she like, T, I meant to tell you, I was in the shower the other day and I just forgot to tell you that the Lord dropped in my spirit that you're going to be coaching team leaders. Blew my socks off because the Lord just dropped that in my spirit, right? So she goes on, she like, I'm going to be your first testimony because, you helped me so much build my business. And I'm like, all right, Lord, I got it. So I had a team meeting set up right after that. So I just immediately, told my team what we were going to do. I ain't put no system or plan in place for it. I just told them, because I knew I had to be obedient in that, because the Lord took his time to even confirm to me what I'm supposed to do, right? So I just moved on it immediately because delayed obedience is disobedience, and the Lord showed me that before. And boy, am I glad I did, because as soon as I did, different opportunities just started rolling in. That's the testimony, that just, so many different opportunities started rolling in. But I'm still sitting on them because, every opportunity does not necessarily mean it's a God opportunity. And what I've learned, is that me personally, because I go all in on stuff, I have to focus in on, one thing at a time, make sure I'm solid in it and then move forward. But, it is such a testament of God's faithfulness that he just, he allowed me to see that, I'm moving in the right direction. So I'm grateful for that. So as we stand, I have handed over all my bread and butter, and I'm trusting God and expecting a great harvest. The lesson here is that sometimes we get to moving too fast, and we have to take a break and look at things and see if we're working too hard. Am I forcing this to happen, or is it coming easy? If we're working to make it happen, working too hard to make it happen, that may mean we're out of step somewhere, because when you are doing things with God, there should be a grace that you sense. And to walk in that grace, it may take making a bold leap of faith. My evangelist is teaching on a message called Being Deliberate About Your Harvest. And one thing she said is you can't expect a harvest if you haven't sown the seed. And you have to sow what you expect to reap. So that's what I've done. I'll be sure to share the testimonies with you as they roll in, because I'm surely expecting them to. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I drop new content.